We are live. Welcome to Welders of IG. I'm Joel Ridzak. Thank you for joining our show. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want your content a day early and be entered into a contest automatically. Join my Patreon, patreon.com/Welders of IG. We got a very special guest today. With us today, all the way up from Canada, we have Kevin Stone. Kevin Stone, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Joel. Thanks for having me.
So, before we get into all your amazing work, you make huge sculptures. Give us a little bit of history, where you started welding, how you got into welding and fabricating.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I started pretty young. I was 19. Friends of mine were in the shipyard. A couple friends actually got jobs in the shipyard. And my way in was going to school and getting my welding tickets. So I went to trade school when I was 19, 20, and went through the welding courses to my level A welding. And I started an apprenticeship on a commercial steel company. And I used to do high steel and iron working for quite a few years until my late 20s, I guess. And then I started getting into a little safer work. I started having kids and a family, and decided to get out of the field work. I was out in the field a lot and climbing steel and bridges, and it's tough work and it's dangerous work. And my wife at the time wanted to make sure that I was home and around for the kids. So I came home from the field work and started working in more of a shop environment. And I did that for many years until I got the opportunity to start my artwork. And from there, I've just been kind of doing my own thing ever since my artwork. So I did artwork for about 10 years. And then I opened a hot rod shop, and I had a hot rod shop where I built custom show cars for about 9 years. And then my artwork started to pick up and get busy again. So then I went back into my artwork full time and sold my shop. So.
Oh, wow. So working on cars was kind of like an avenue to building up your artwork and giving you that lease.
How it happened was I was working for a company, and they asked me to build a gargoyle for the company that I was working at. The company was a stainless steel company building breweries. So I was building large breweries that were being shipped around the world, all in stainless steel, and the company asked me to do a gargoyle for the rooftop of the building, just to kind of show off the welding skills and work skills of the floor. And so I built a gargoyle, and then that led into it just kind of snowballed. That led into a private investor. And that private investor invested into me to leave my job and buy some tooling and build my first big eagle. So that's where that started from. But of course, sometimes the dreams can be a little too good to be true. And he was actually kind of a scammer. And after I got the eagle built, he tried to steal it physically, tried to relocate it and hide it on me, locked me out of the facility that we had leased to work on it. And it led into a court battle. And then that led into another investor coming on board who had actually wanted to buy the piece. And because it was tied up with lawyers and stuff, that led into another investor saying, look, if we can't buy this piece, let's build a new one. So then I started all over again, and I built a new one. And then that led into a bad partnership. He was really greedy and wanted ridiculous money for my work. I did a big Chinese dragon with him, and I did another big, like a 40-foot stainless steel eagle, and the dragon was 85 feet, all in stainless steel. And his pricing was just ludicrous. He wanted $10 million for my dragon. He wanted $8 million for my bird. And that led into no sales, obviously. So I did have some really good opportunities for sales at a big Chinese casino for the dragon, and a private individual from BC here that was interested in and made $1.5 million offer on my bird.
Wow.
And they turned it down. And
Jeez.
so this kind of created a lot of friction, obviously. I was heavily marketing my pieces. At the same time, I was fairly new, and nobody really knew about me. And I had these really big, amazing pieces, But how do you market something that, unless somebody's commissioning you for a piece, how do you market something to sell? And, I had tried everything. I had wrote emails, I had showed pictures, I had, did the best I could to advertise. I even put them on eBay at one time,
Wow.
but just no serious interest. Usually it's kind of when somebody's ordering something like that, there's a reason for it. There's a need for it, or something's come up where they specifically have a use for it, so they order it from you. So doing that type of work where you're building on speculation of a sale, it actually launched my career, but at the same time kind of left it stagnant trying to get these sales. And then something really bad happened. So what had happened was, my big Chinese dragon, it took me 2 years to build, and it was an expensive piece to create. It was about 500,000 to create it.
Jeez.
And it went on display at the Vancouver Pacific National Exhibition, which is it's called the P&E in Vancouver, and they have an exhibition every year. It's been running for, I think, close to 50 years now. They have one of the last wooden roller coasters to ride, and it's a big event every year in Vancouver. And they have it at the end of summer every year. So, they open up, there's all kinds of carnival rides and games for kids, and concerts and all kinds of things for adults as well there. And it's a big event. And so they had my dragon on display. And when my dragon was on display there, we had transported it down to Vancouver and set it up on display at the Peony. And the River Rock Casino in Vancouver saw my dragon on display, and they wanted to have it at their casino for the Chinese New Year. Now, this is back in 2012 when the Chinese New Year was the year of the dragon, and it made sense. So the way that they staged it down at the casino, so then we ended up moving it after the P&E, and it came home. We relocated it again down to the casino, and it was on display there for about 6 months. And again, my partner at the time kind of blew a chance of sale, asking for ridiculous money when it could have probably stayed at the casino if they had negotiated a little better. And so I said, I went down there they had offered for me to come down for a free concert at the casino, me and my wife, and stay the night and have a free hotel and a free concert and stuff there. So we went down and saw, I can't remember who we saw now. I'll think of it. I think it was Supertramp that we saw. And
nice.
So anyway, that evening, I saw some drunks outside from the bar there climbing my sculpture.
Oh, no.
And it worried me that my sculpture, I hadn't had a sale. The thing was basically still for sale, and it was now at risk. It's all mirror polished stainless, and I didn't want people climbing it and damaging it or scratching it. And I just felt that it was time for it to come home. And they didn't at that point want to pay for the lease anymore. They didn't want to keep paying for it since they weren't purchasing it. And so I felt that it was time to come home, and I hired the company that had taken it there. They were a pretty good company as far as moving it reliably, but they went and doubled their price to bring it home.
Oh,
Literally,
no.
So it went from $9,000 to $18,000 just to transport it home.
Jeez.
And the casino was like, well, this is ridiculous. We're willing to pay, but we're not going to pay double more than it cost to bring it here. So, and I agreed with them. I thought that was, again, greed, right? So I hired another company, and little did I know that they kind of backdoored the job, and they didn't get any moving permits, and they didn't get any wide load permits, and they didn't get any transport routes to bring my dragon home because it's an oversized piece. So they ended up hitting an overpass with it.
Oh my God. Curse of the dragon.
Yeah, they did $200,000 damage to my dragon. And that was like overwhelming when I found that out. It had been 2 years to create that dragon. I worked on it 7 days a week for 2 years. And to find out that, carelessness or whatever, they hit an overpass with it. And there was no reason for it to hit an overpass. It had already been transported on a safe route there, So anyway, I was really upset about that. And I let my partner know at the time, that the partner that I had, and he tried to just go around me like I didn't exist and sue the company that was insuring the Dragon through the, the crane and transport company, they had insurance, and he just basically went around me like I didn't exist and tried to write the Dragon off and sue them for $1 million and get money out of it. And
Scamming. Jeez.
so when that happened, they contacted me and said, "Who is this guy? Like, what's going on here? Why are these lawyers suing us?" And I said, "Look, I don't know, but I know I'd already assessed the damage of the Dragon. I did a walk around on a video explaining the damage that was done to it and what it would take to repair it." And so they settled with me. As soon as he sued them, they settled with me. So rather than working with me to fix the Dragon and get it sold, he turned around and sued me. And he just wanted money at that point. Our partnership was over. So I talked to lawyers, and the lawyers basically said, "Well, you guys had a pretty simple agreement. The agreement was that he invests and you build it, and you guys sell it and split the money. And that's probably what a judge is going to tell you: fix it, sell it, and split the money." But at this point, it was beyond, the damage was done. There was no working this partnership back out. So at that point, I was tired of the stress and dealing with all this negativity. This had gone on for years with this partner. And I just chose to repair the Dragon because I had been paid to repair the Dragon. And so I repaired the Dragon, and my wife and I chose to just walk away. So I walked away from the two pieces, a big eagle and a Dragon that I had partnered with him. And that's when I opened my hot rod shop. I had a bad taste in my mouth. I had two bad partners, and I thought, you know what, screw this artwork. I'm going to go back and do what I love to do, and I love building cars. And we opened a very successful hot rod shop. It was great. It grew into a great reputation, and we were winning lots of awards for show cars and getting recognized in the industry for the quality of our builds. And it was going really well. And my wife talked me into doing some smaller pieces. So over the years, I think I didn't do any artwork for about 3 years.
Reeling you back in, just reeling you back into the artwork.
That's right. And really, she was the driving force behind telling me that, you really have a talent. You need to keep doing it. So I started doing some small pieces. I started off with some small eagles that I ended up selling to Harley Davidson dealerships. And then doing some memorial pieces, and then that just kind of snowballed into bigger commissions and more interest in my work. And then I started getting some really big commissions, like you've seen my Game of Thrones Dragon and the big T-Rex that I'm building now. And those pieces were so big that there was no room in the hot rod shop to be doing that type of work there and still doing cars. And that's when we'd actually just brought on partners a couple of years ago to help the shop grow and to undertake all the expansion that the shop was doing. We were building a new shop and growing and diversifying. And it was that point that Michelle and I said, you know what, we've had our run, we've had our fun, but this artwork is really taking off now, and we decided to sell out to our partners and leave and just focus on the artwork again. And so I've been doing that for, I guess we're coming up on a year already, and it's been a year since I've left the shop, and the work just keeps coming in, and we're really ecstatic the direction this is going. So.
Yeah, dude, that's amazing. That's so cool. Happy for you getting back into the artwork and doing it. So back to the water dragon for a second. Is that still the world's largest water dragon, to your knowledge?
It is, as far as I know. It's a handmade stainless steel coiling dragon. It stands 12 feet tall, 14 feet wide, and about 37 feet coiled. And then if you go from the head down its back and follow the coils, it's 85 feet. Weighs about 12,000 pounds. As far as I know, the two pieces are still sitting unsold. He hasn't sold them. I don't know what he's doing to market or try to sell them, but they've been sitting there
for that deal, waiting for the right price.
10 years now they've been sitting unsold, and because of the falling out we've had, I'm not there to represent those art pieces, but in the end, my wife wanted me to really fight for them, and I thought, you know what, the stress isn't worth it. And in the end, if he does eventually sell them, they're going to be back out, hopefully in the public, and they're back to being my pieces again. I mean, I created them, and
Yep.
and if they eventually get back out to the public, then great, because that's why I built them. I just want the public to enjoy my work, and that's why I do what I do. So
Nice. Yeah. Free publicity, free advertisement, and it'll just come right back around to you for sure.
absolutely, yeah.
So you had all this controversy with your water dragon and your eagle. Did I think I remember correctly, you made an eagle for Dolly Parton, is that correct?
I did, yeah, just before I opened my hot rod shop. In fact, that was one of the telltale decisions that convinced me that I needed to open my hot rod shop. I had done a couple of commissions for the U.S. military, so I did a memorial for Fort Kentucky for the 101st Airborne in Fort Kentucky, and then I did another kind of a memorial piece for the front entrance of the Brooke Army Medical Institute in San Antonio. And then after that, shortly after that, I got contacted from Dollywood Theme Park, and they were opening the Wild Eagle, which opened in I think 2011 or 2012. The Wild Eagle opened, and I know it was right at the time that I'm trying to think here. Oh yeah, it was, yeah. So right after San Antonio Eagles was the Dollywood Eagle, and I ended up building a 55-foot steel eagle, which at the time was the largest eagle in North America, the largest eagle sculpture in North America when the Wild Eagle opened, and it's still on display in Dollywood. So.
Wow, dude, that's incredible. That eagle is massive. So a lot of these things cost quite a bit in raw materials. Did you ever have to take out loans, or was your shop successful enough just to front the cost of those materials, or how did that all work?
How I work on these large scale projects, in fact, it's changed. You kind of grow and learn over the years, but what I do is I take an initial deposit depending on the size of the sculpture. So if it's a huge sculpture like the T-Rex that I'm doing, basically how I do is we come up with a set plan of how much I need a month to work on it, a rough estimate of how much the materials are. And then I just take like every 3 months or every 4 months, I'll get a deposit, and I'll work off of that deposit to buy materials, pay my wages. And then when the money's getting tight again, I ask for another deposit. And then we just keep building that way until the piece is completed. And that seems to work out the best. It doesn't really give me a windfall at the end, but at the same time, it's a pretty good income while I'm building these big pieces. And I'm hoping as my name gets out there more and my work gets out there more, that maybe in the end down the road I'll be able to charge exorbitant prices for my sculptures that some of these artists get. But I'm quite shocked when I look at the pricing that I do, and then I see what other artists have sold their works for, and I'm just like, how? I hear about these pieces that some of them aren't even that good, and they're selling for anywhere from $3 million to $20 million, and I'm like, well, I just don't understand it. So.
Yeah, there's Bored Apes online, NFTs that are selling for millions of dollars right there. All right, time to talk about making money online. So, if you're like me, you make a decent living, you got some money in the bank, you probably have a halfway decent retirement, but you could be doing more. You need to have another stream of revenue coming into the household. With the price of gas and food going up, inflation's going crazy right now. Your dollar is losing value by the day. But you're in luck. There's never been an easier time in human history to make money. And to help you with that, there's Hustlers University 2.0, or HU2 as we call it. Once you get inside, you will be connected with verified millionaires and have access to 18 wealth creating courses, from freelancing, crypto, copywriting, dropshipping, just to name a few. You will be given the tools to make money easily online. Why spend tens of thousands of dollars on a college course or a seminar taught you by some dude who's most likely only stayed in academics, never really made any large sums of money? For only $50 a month, Hustlers University is extremely undervalued. I cannot stress that enough. You need to get in now before they raise the price. You will be grandfathered into that $50 a month price, by the way, just so you know. I use this service. I've made money online. You can too. It's super simple. Just go to my link in the description of this podcast or go to the link in my bio on my Instagram and buy directly from there. If you explore the site, you click around, maybe you think you clicked off of it, go back to that link, make sure you click and buy directly from there. It really helps out the show and it'll help you make some money online right now. Remember, it's not how much money you will eventually make, it's the speed at which you make it now. You want to retire at 65 or 45? It's really up to you. So speed up your timeline and start now. Let's get after it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I don't get it. But it's a fickle world. The art world is strange, and I'm happy. I'm comfortable doing what I'm doing, and I'm making a living at it, and slowly getting recognized for the work I'm doing, and so that's awesome, and I love it.
Nice, nice. So I see you have a few people working in your shop. Are those relatives? I think your wife is working with you. You got a few hands.
This has been 100% just me and my wife over the years. And then when we moved and relocated, it's just been my wife and I up until this past Christmas. And at Christmas time, we decided that we needed some help. And we hired a young guy that was an apprentice at one of the steel shops that I used to buy material from. And he was a nice kid, a good worker, and always friendly when we came there to buy steel and stuff. And I thought, he's a good kid to take under my wing and train and teach how I do things, and he can do his apprenticeship under me and gives my wife and I a helping hand. And we had another fellow, Corey, that came in to do welding for me and just to do bulk welding. And he was here for about 6 weeks, I guess, about 6 weeks. And then some family issues came up, and he ended up moving back to Saskatchewan with his family. So it's just my wife and I now, and the young fellow Josh helping us. So it's just the three of us. Yeah.
Small crew, just banging out a lot of work, getting it done.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I was looking at some of your YouTube videos, and I thought everything was plasma cut out, but you actually use the shear. You do a lot of polishing. That was actually kind of cool to see. Did you learn that from someone in the shipyards, or you just figured that's the fastest, easiest way to go about it?
It was how it started. Really was all the options of working with stainless and not contaminating the stainless. So how I ended up buying the machine and learning how to use it when the options were plasma cut, which contaminates stainless steel, water jetting, which is very expensive and not practical. And I really didn't know how else to even, when you've got tools at home, you're kind of stuck with tools that you can buy that are one of the main things is they run off of single phase power. So, and then price point, any industrial sized machines, they run on 3-phase power, which you generally don't have at home, which is where I started. It was in my garage at home. And most of the tools that you get for the home hobbyist, I guess you would say, aren't rated for anything more than 20 gauge or 18 gauge materials, and especially stainless. So I found this Makita shear that actually could cut up to 16 gauge stainless. My first projects, like the Dragon and the Eagles, they were all made out of 16 gauge mirror polished stainless. And it's really hard to work with bare hand, by hand, shaping it, cutting it. It was really limited. And if you use plasma, it's very rough edges, it burns it, and then you've got to clean it up. And then when I was working with the mirror polish, the shear, the power shear, was powerful enough to cut it, but also gave it a nice clean edge. And I didn't have to, do anything with the edge. And the better I got at cutting those lines, the better my pieces looked, and the cleaner my pieces were. And I had no prep. I could either just weld or leave those clean edges visible. And that's been my go-to tool ever since. Now I use it for everything. I use it for steel, for stainless. I even use it on aluminum. So it's an awesome tool. It's a pretty heavy tool. And over the years now, cutting with that tool have actually caused some injuries on me. So I used to have to, especially the 16 gauge, it's quite hard to cut through. So you have to, I used to hold it against myself and kind of brace it against my belly almost, and then cut the piece off with my right hand. And that over time, the vibration of using that tool and having the metal up, the sharp metal up against my belly, and I never used a leather smock, which I should have. I
Ah,
always used to just have it up against me, and it caused a major hernia. So I had to go have hernia surgery from the metal being up against my stomach and vibrating all the time. I had to have a screen put in. And so that was the first injury. And then now, over the years, I'm starting to get, I guess there's no other word for it, but tennis elbow in my right elbow. I'm getting a lot of pain and numbness in my and just nerve damage and elbow damage from using that heavy machine and fighting through the metal over the years. So it's probably good if I can slowly move that type of work to the younger guys,
yes.
and I focus on the design aspect and the fitting, and let the young guys do the cutting and the welding. So
Yep.
that's kind of where I'm leaning towards as I keep doing these projects. I'm going to try to have a staff do the labor end of things, while I can focus more on creating and putting and assembling. So
Nice, nice. Yeah, I too have had some injuries in the trades. I had carpal tunnel release surgery on both my hands, so yeah, I know what it's like to deal with that numbness and pain. It's no fun. So
yeah.
now you're delegating all the work, all the hard labor to the younger folks, and you're tacking, assembling, installing. So I know you've had trouble with the transport, them trying to screw you over on prices. But once they transport it, do they transport it in sections and then you install sections and weld them together and bolt them together? How does that all work?
So the biggest thing when I do these giant sculptures like the Game of Thrones dragon, the T Rex has been a challenge even building it, because I'm in a facility now where I don't have really tall ceiling heights. So I'm trying to design it with a 14-foot ceiling that I'm working in, and it's a 25 or 30-foot sculpture. So I can't build the whole thing and have that. I work off of what a lot of people don't get is that I actually am a visual artist. So I'm like a real artist. To me, playing with metal is like drawing on a piece of paper. I don't
Mhm.
have computers to help me. I don't even know how to use them. And so I don't engineer these pieces. I engineer them out of my head based on my previous experience. I used to be a structural welder and a fabricator, and I know from that experience how things need to go together and how things need to be mounted and how things need to be built so they're strong and safe, and basically self-engineer. And my engineering has been tested, and it does meet engineering qualifications when I've actually had certified engineers sign off on my work. Like, for instance, the Dollywood theme park. It had to be engineered for tornado level winds, so it had to be engineered for
Wow.
200-mile-an-hour winds, and also
Jeez.
be safe for a theme park, because people are walking underneath it and this and that, and you don't want it to, collapse and kill somebody. So,
Mhm.
so I had worked with an engineer who had engineered it, but he just, it's really hard for me to explain when I'm building these creations, that's in my head, and I don't really have a way of putting it on paper. I can do a simple sketch and stuff, and I'm an okay artist, but not a really great artist. And When it comes to drawing and stuff, so it's even for me to sell a sculpture idea to a customer, it's hard, because I have nothing to tell them other than, I can build that for you and it's going to look amazing, but how
Mhm.
do I show it to you before I build it? And I've had that problem with two of my current clients. They're like, "Oh, it doesn't look like it's heading in the right direction," and I'm like, "Give it
Trust
time."
me. Trust me.
Trust me. It's a process, right? So um but yeah, that aspect of it is, it's always challenging. And the other challenge is transporting down the highway. You're limited to a maximum load of like 12 feet by 12 feet. and you have to have a pilot car and permits and that kind of thing. And like my Dragon, you got to watch for overpasses and all
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. So I'm limited on how big I can create, because believe me, I'd like to create a lot bigger. But then I'm either creating it on site, which isn't always practical, or then I just have to figure out how they assemble, and how I can take them apart, transport them, and put them back together on site. So, for instance, the Dragon, the body just barely fits on a transport to go down the highway, and then the wings unbolt and the tail unbolts, and then so he's in 4 sections to go and be transported. Then I have to go on site, just like the Dollywood Eagle. I had to fly down there and bolt the wings on, and bolt the body to its stand, and then bolt the wings on using a crane and manpower to put them together. And so I try to have it so that they're not welded on site, that they don't have to be welded, that they can be manually bolted together, and still not show how they were put together. So the seams are kind of hidden, and I try to make it so that they don't look like a piece that's bolted together in the end. But that's always a challenge too, because I have to build a structural frame that's designed to be able to come apart, but then on the outside of that structural frame still look like the sculpture I'm trying to create. So it's kind of a two-part endeavor. Every time I do a sculpture, I have to design it from the inside out, and it's really challenging.
Yeah, you seem to know a lot about how much your objects weigh, and like what parts are a little bit heavier. Are you super hands-on with the rigging once it gets into
Yeah,
place?
it's
Because it's
I
all in your
design.
head.
Yeah, it's all in my head. I designed them to be have lift points, and to be able to be
Ah,
lifted in certain ways. And I've even had sculptures that are really big, balance on their own. And I don't know how I do it, but I just try to figure out the best way to shape it as I'm building it. I always stand back and visually look at it. And I've shocked myself many times that I stand back and I'm like, the thing is actually balancing, so
wow.
that's been kind of cool. But but yeah, it's challenging always. You have to think about how the crane is going to lift it. Can the crane get access to the location of where this piece is being located? There's so many challenges, and the other challenge is when it's lifted, it has to be lifted at the right angle, so it's going to line up with the bolts and bolts. So sometimes things aren't always, they're front heavy or they're rear heavy, or when you lift it up, it wants to swing and go sideways. So these are all challenges that you have to. Sometimes it's just figuring it out on the fly, and just making it work. So.
Right. Maybe pick it up, see how it floats, repick until you get it just right.
Yeah, I've had to use come-alongs, and you pick it up and it's kind of hanging weird, and then you hook up a come-along somewhere else, and keep working on it until it's sitting in the right angle, and then things will go together. So yeah.
Yeah, nice. So a lot of that older work was a bit of a headache, but now you're working on some new stuff. You got the Game of Thrones dragon, you've got the T-Rex, and you got the Elon head. How did you come upon the Elon head? Did Elon himself ask for that, or?
When this project started, I actually thought it was for him, like through him. So a designer contacted me, Danny Wang, out of California, and he had contacted me about doing the whole project initially. So the whole project is a semi trailer with a rocket, and then it's got Tesla's rocket, or SpaceX's rocket on the back of a semi trailer, on a low bed trailer, with a goat riding the rocket with Elon's head. and
Whoa.
uh, and they contacted me to do the rocket, the goat, and the head. And so I had put in a quote, and the quote was pretty high, because when they initially contacted me, they said they wanted a 50-foot goat with Elon's head, and I'm like, a
Jeez.
50-foot goat? I'm looking around going, that's huge,
Yeah.
But so as it progressed, they contacted me again, and I honestly didn't think I'd hear anything about it. And then the designer contacted me again, and he said, "Look, these guys, my clients, really want you to be a part of this project, and they really want you to do Elon's head. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And they said, maybe you could do the head and the rocket, or maybe the head and the goat. But the problem is that they needed it built faster than I could do it by myself. So, I was figuring if I did everything, it was probably a 2-year project by, me and my wife building it. And so it back and forth a few times, and finally we ended up saying that I'll do the head, and at the same time 2 other companies will do the rocket and the goat, and then they'll all merge together and it'll be done quicker. So that's how it started, and I was still thinking it was for Elon. I'm like, who wants a giant goat with his head on it? Like, it's got to be Elon. And then my wife and I actually went onto his Twitter account, and for whatever reason, just the timing, he was talking about a goat. And I'm like, oh, it's got to be him. Like, it's just got to be him. And the reason mostly why I thought it was him, was back in 2018 on his Twitter account, he had found my Chinese water dragon online, I guess, and used my dragon as his profile picture on Twitter.
Wow.
Just a weird coincidence. My daughter had seen his profile with my dragon as his account picture, his profile picture, and she's like, "You got to see this. Elon has your dragon as his picture," And so that was really cool. And we thought, out of all the people and all the things in the world, Elon has my dragon as his account picture, And so that's when we really thought it was him. We just thought the connection was there, and we thought it was him. But what it was EGT is Elon Goat Token. So they're a cryptocurrency company that started out of Phoenix, Arizona, and they're building a giant monument, goat monument, riding a rocket with Elon's head, and they're going to finish this sculpture to promote their token, but they're actually going to drive it to Elon and give it to him in the end. So this is that's the whole. It's kind of like a marketing idea that they had, and to get people's attention and to do this big project. So it wasn't just this fly by night token company or crypto company, that they were in it for the long haul. They were serious about it. They wanted to create this $1 million sculpture and give it to Elon in the end, in dedication to all the hard work that he's done. So the rocket represents his SpaceX. The goat represents the greatest of all time. There's lightning on there. There's Mars, so the rocket going to Mars is on there, and then of course Elon riding the rocket to Mars as the goat. So it's kind of really cool. I thought it was so crazy. I have to be a part of this project, and it's been fun doing it, and it's turned out really well. So I'm actually in the final stages right now of fabricating the face. And so his neck and his face are almost completely fabricated. And then the challenging part is his ears and his hair. So that's the next stage of doing that. And excuse me here. It's been a long day.
Yeah, I bet.
And so that's what I'm working on. Finishing up. I'm finishing up his face right now. And then I've done it in small octagons and small hand fabricated pieces to find all that complicated shapes of his face and around his eyes and lips and everything. So it's been a real challenging, I would say, for a smaller project, the most challenging project I've had, to do a portrait of somebody and make it look realistic. And in the scale that I'm doing it, it's almost 6 feet tall, just the head. It's been really challenging, and I'm super proud of the way it's turning out. I have a lot of welding ahead of me. I've got to tack all the pieces in place and TIG weld the whole entire thing. And then after it's fully TIG welded, I have to grind all the welds down and do a nice brushed finish on the surface. So it's a challenging project and very labor intensive, very time consuming project. But it's going to Elon, and I can't be more excited. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool. And for those of you just listening, make sure you check out the YouTube. I'm going to have all the footage of him working on this. You can see how massive the Elon head is. It's crazy. It's amazing. So
I would recommend checking out EGT. It's a cryptocurrency that I think is going to be a strong investment if anybody's interested in investing in crypto. I think it's just at the ground level right now where it's cheap to get in, and I really think it's going to be a good investment for people. It's got a really solid base and good people behind it, and it's not one of these fly by night ones where they just take people's money and then you never hear of them again.
Yes,
So
good. No rug pulls on EGT.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So you got all these projects lined out. You're working every day in the shop. What are your future goals? Any other future projects, or are you just busy?
I have a few lined up. I've been talking with a fellow out of Arizona the last few days about doing a small sculpture for him, small but detailed. So it's another dragon that would go into a home that he's building in the Utah mountains, and it's a really cool dragon. So that's another current project that I'm interested in. A lot of my clients based out of the U.S. A lot of my clients are based in the U.S. And so my wife and I are planning to relocate out of Canada and come down to the U.S. and set up shop down there. So
Freedom.
it's been pretty bad here, to be honest with you. It's been pretty bad. So
Yeah.
we just heard that they're dropping the mask mandates finally as of tomorrow, and they're opening up the restaurants to and getting rid of these vax passes on April 8th. And I still don't even know if the border is going to be opening up. So that's been a big issue for me, for work, but I also ride Harley and I love to do long haul road trips with my wife. And the border's been closed to us, for 2 years now. So that's been a huge issue for me. That's a big stress relief, getting out on the bike and just unwinding and put the work behind me for a week or two and do a road trip on the bike. And I just love doing that. And I'm really looking forward to being able to do that south of the border again. And I've been eyeing up Arizona, maybe even Florida. I'm looking forward to not really retiring, but more of a semi-retirement. I'd like to do my artwork down there, and I love to build cars. I don't know if you can see in the background here, but I have a '54 Buick custom resto mod that I've been building. I started building it at my shop a few years ago, and it's a twin turbo car. It makes 1,400 horsepower. Jeez. It's got a custom chassis designed underneath it. I've mini tubbed it and channeled the floors. Everything's hand built. I did all the floors and frame. It's got a Detroit Speed front clip with a twin turbo LS in it and 22-inch rear wheels, 20s in the front. And nice. It was our wedding car. It's a '54 Buick, and it was kind of an old school hot rod. I had the original motor in it. It was 3 on the tree. It had maybe 150 horsepower.
Wow.
And just wanted to redo it and have like a modern supercar and just again kind of turn it into a personalized piece of artwork that is my own personal car rather than always building cars for customers. And that's how it started. And then when we left the shop, I said, well, it's the car's coming with me. I got to keep this car's staying with me forever. So
we just got a few more mods, just a few more mods on this baby.
Seems to end. I'm kind of excited because I think my custom fuel tank is arriving from Rick's Fuel Tanks is arriving this week, and it's got twin fuel pumps in it, and it's supposed to be able to handle 2,000 horsepower. So it's a very specialized fuel tank to run this car. So,
oh, dude, that's awesome. So you're never without a project. There's always your Buick to work on, an Elon head to work on, another Dragon, an Eagle.
Too much. Yeah, I always take on too much. In fact, sitting in front of me here, I'll just turn you around and show you. Okay. See that frame there?
Yeah.
It's a custom frame that was sent up from the Buffalo Chip at Sturgis, and they want me to build their show bike this year. So I've got to build a custom show bike for the Sturgis Buffalo Chip for Sturgis this August. So it'll be unveiled on stage at the Buffalo Chip, and we're just in throwing ideas around for motor and tires and wheels and at some point I'm hoping after this Elon project, and I'm actually building another memorial for a college down in Kentucky right now. I'm doing a 13-foot Black Hawk for a school, a college down in Arkansas. And when those two smaller pieces are done, my side project will be this bike, trying to get it done for the Buffalo Chip in Sturgis. So it's really cool. I've always wanted to go to Sturgis. I ride bike, and I just haven't, had the opportunity. I was going to go a couple of years ago. We were planning to go to Sturgis for the first time, and then COVID hit,
Boom.
and that killed our
COVID.
plans. And
Damn.
then to call me out of the blue, like totally out of the blue, and say, "Hey, we're big fans of your artwork, and we want you to build this year's show bike." I was like, "Oh yeah, awesome!" So that's probably my biggest. I'm going to say that's my biggest stress right now, is because I'm not a custom bike builder. I'm a car builder and an artist. And there's some pretty big names that have built bikes and unveiled bikes at Sturgis. All the big names.
It's a big deal.
OCC and Jesse James, and I mean,
Yep.
all the boys have done bikes down there. And for me to be an absolute nobody and be offered the opportunity to unveil a custom bike down there is crazy. So
I wouldn't say
I'm
you're a
always one for
nobody. I wouldn't say you're a nobody. You definitely got some talent. I'm sure they trust your talent.
I certainly am. So this is a huge challenge for me, and I love kind of jumping off the diving board, and I'll take on any challenge if it comes to cars, bikes, or artwork. I'm game. So the only thing that concerns me is, I don't have a whole lot of time to be doing this. So
Well, yes, I appreciate you taking the little time you do have to talk to me, talk to Welders of IG. And hopefully you get to build some more dragons and eagles and retire quietly in Arizona, or, a Sturgis maybe. I don't know.
it will never end. I'll always be building something. I'm just looking forward to the warm weather so I can actually play with my toys a little longer than 3 months a year. So
Yes, it gets super cold up in Canada. So where can people find you? Where can people check you out?
Well, I'm on Facebook under Metal Sculptor Kevin Stone. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok under Metal Sculptor Kevin Stone. And if you do Metal Sculptor Kevin Stone with what are they called? The underscores. So the words are spaced out, like metal underscore sculptor underscore Kevin underscore Stone. All of my platforms will come up with those searches. You can also Google search my artwork. You can just do Kevin Stone metal art and hit Google Images, and you'll get pages and pages of articles and pictures of my work and stuff like that. So that's a great platform. And we've just launched a new YouTube channel, so look out for my YouTube channel. I have an amazing videographer that is now documenting my work and coming in, and we're filming weekly now, and it's all filmed in 4 and 5K, and we're trying to produce lots of content for YouTube, and you'll be able to follow all my builds on there, and at some point we'll even get this car on YouTube and show what I'm doing with the car. So
Yes. Great goal, dude. And we're going to put all the links in the description for your YouTube. Check it out. I watched like probably an hour or more of all your YouTube footage. Yeah. So I'm giving it some views. Thank you so much for coming on Welders of IG. Thank you, Kevin Stone.
Thanks for having me. Talk to you later, Joel.
All right. Talk to you later.